Are you working on your author career but struggling to get that first book published? Does the goal of being an author seem too lofty? Or thoughts of having multiple books and making a full-time living are as fantastical as living in Cinderella's castle? Welcome to Discovered Wordsmiths, a podcast where aspiring authors can be heard. Join Stephen Schneider as he finds and talks to authors you may not know, but authors that have gotten their foot on the author career path. Hear what they've done to get there and where they want to go now. Settle back. It's time for a bit of inspiration and advice. Come listen to today's Discovered Wordsmith.
Today on the podcast, I want to welcome Chad Boyer. Chad writes military sci-fi with big robots, and that sounds great to me. We discuss a few authors that he likes and a couple that we've known in the same style. So if you like that type of book, if you like that type of adventure in sci-fi, check out Chad's book. It's called Raising Aces, and we'll talk about it and some of the other books he likes and some of the things he does with his family and outside of writing. So please check out Chad's books, and if you enjoyed the podcast, go give us a review, give us some likes. It'll help others find us, help other readers discover the new authors and new books that I've been helping promote. Thank you. All right. Well, Chad, welcome today. How are you this morning or afternoon?
Great. Yeah.
Great. I appreciate you taking some time to get on the podcast and talk to us. Before we get started with your book, tell us a little bit about who you are and a bit about your background and what you like to do besides writing.
Yeah. So, Chad Boyer, grew up in California, did a short stint in the Air Force, which took me to the lovely state of Oklahoma. So that was awesome. And then also had a quick little loop around England for a year in education abroad. So that was cool. Right now I work a full-time job as a computer developer and working in the healthcare industry. So business is booming, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
what'd you do with computer development? Because that's what I do.
so I'm a software developer they call us a full stack developer. I work both on the back end, so on the servers themselves, and on the front end, so on the bits that you see when you are actually checking web pages out and things. If we want to go super technical, I work on an electronic health record, an EHR, in the medical industry, and it's all web-based. So, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. So with all that and your background, you have kids.
Yep.
Why did you want to start writing?
Yeah, so I've always, I feel it's typical among most authors. I've always wanted to write. I wrote some when I was a kid. And I, maybe about, I don't know, back in 07, 08 or so, I took a creative writing course. And I mean, you usually have some book idea kicking around in your head. And so I took that to the creative writing course and at the community college here and started working on it. And then life happened, kind of put it away. Didn't really do much with it per se. But it was always like in the back of my head as like, you should really write that. I mean, I find that most readers come across a book where they're like, I could do better than this. And I have a great idea for a story. I mean, it's just in my day job, I have a great idea for an app. So I basically decided, I kind of put it away for a long time. And then one of my author, he's a friend now, but one of the authors that I follow put out a bunch of short stories and put them up on Amazon. And I was like, well, how do you do that? I mean, how did that even work? Did you buy ISBNs? Like, can you even do that? And he was like, yeah, you just format the Word document and it goes up on on Amazon. It's not that hard. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I started it the week that my son was born. And I've been kind of writing for him as something fun to read, which is, I mean, when I was a boy, I enjoyed reading sci-fi and fantasy books. And so we're 2 years in and I've got one book out. So there you go.
Nice. And so your son's 2 years old now?
Yep.
Uh, and the book, you says you're reading it to him. What is the book called, and what's it
Oh,
about?
oh, I'm not reading it to him. It'll be
Oh,
something for him to read when he is
oh.
older. It's a sci-fi book. It's called Raising Aces. It's a I like to call it a mashup between World War One and Mecha. So it's giant robots, basically trying to pacify and take over the world. And the three heroes in the story are tasked by this AI who basically said, "Hey, the Imperials are coming back in about 15 years, and if we don't have a consolidated front, they're just going to take over. So let's make a consolidated front." And so that's the first story in the Aces series. And
So, I know there's a lot of sub genres to sci-fi, and people get really dedicated to one subgenre. Would you say this is military or space opera
yeah,
or like hard sci-fi, or what would you say?
yeah, we're definitely military. We're not hard sci-fi because if you start doing an actual check on big robots, it's not going to work. I really wish it would because they're cool, but unfortunately, they're not practical in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, military sci-fi, soft, and there isn't a mecha section, unfortunately. So I think I put it in colonization because it's
Yeah.
not Earth based planet, and then there's a lot of fighting and whatnot in it. So yeah,
Okay. So why I know we talked a little bit about what got you into writing, but this particular book, why did you choose to write a military sci-fi instead of something else?
I really like military sci-fi.
Okay.
Read a bunch of it, and it's kind of like in my wheelhouse. And I did 4 years in the Air Force, so I kind of understand the military a little bit. I mean, granted, everybody who is in quote unquote real militaries, like the Marines or the Army, say that Air Force isn't that military like, but I dealt with the bureaucracy and I understand how it is from that side. So I felt I could write it and I like reading it. So that's where we picked it.
That, and I would say there's a large number of my family that are Air Force, so
Oh, nice.
it's fine.
Yeah.
And what? And the book is out already. Book one.
Yeah. Book one came out third week in November, November 23rd
Okay.
this year of last year.
Oh, during Jay's Essential Gathering, right?
It was during Jay's Central Gathering. Yeah, we were all connected up, and I had published it. And in fact, one of the breakout sessions, one of the one of the co-authors there, one of the authors was like, "Hey, it's actually live right now," and I was like, "Awesome," because there's like 72-hour waiting time for Amazon to actually publish the book, which all new to me.
Right. So, what are some things that you've learned writing this first book that you may be doing different with the second one, or some things you wish you had done different now that you know?
Yeah, so there's a bunch. One is stick to one project all the way through. So I definitely, once I got done with the first book and I got it to the editor, I started on the second book and kept writing on the second book, even though the editor had gotten back the revisions to me. Um, because I was trying to keep my word count per day going. And it took me a while to realize really, if you just word count is word count, and revisions count as word count. So I basically just focused on one book, got it done, because there's definitely whenever you hit any kind of hard spot in the novel, you're always like, ooh, there's a shiny thing over there that I'd rather be writing about.
Right.
And there's always a point of your writing that you like a lot, and there's points that you don't like. And if you hit the points that you don't like, it's very easy to be like, oh, I'll do the other stuff, you know? So I think lesson learned is stay focused and keep on a project until it's done.
Okay. And I know you said you like sci-fi military, and that's why you wrote. That's great. Have you had many people reading it and giving you feedback? What have some of the other readers said?
Well, as most often you get with your first book, you get all of your friends and family uh, checking it out, and so far nobody has said it's horrible, which I mean could be them just being nice. But the nice thing that many of them have said is they're waiting for the next book, so that's good. And then it's funny because you write some amazing scenes and you think they're just the best scenes ever, and the feedback that I get from the readers is, yeah, this over throwaway scene that is this really small thing, it was really amazing and I liked it a lot. Or this little paragraph was hilarious, or this line is great. And I was like, yeah, but those aren't the best ones that I did. Go on, there's better. What about this? No, okay. And so you just have to be like, thank you, and just remember that I have a little file uh, that I'm keeping track of those things so I can make sure I do them again in the next book.
That's great. Hopefully, your file doesn't get so big that you feel like you can't get it all in.
Oh, I right now that is not the problem.
All right. So the next book, book 2, you've been working on it. When's that expected to come out?
So the goal right now, what I've got on the calendar is the end of April. The last day in April is the goal for that one. But I haven't been so brave as to put it as an Amazon pre-order. But that's the goal currently.
Yeah, well, I've heard it probably isn't the best idea to do a pre-order if you don't have it 100% done and if you don't have too much of a following yet. So you're
Right.
probably the right choice.
Exactly. And then book 3 on my plan is November. So looking at
Wow.
about
What?
6.
So you feel you've learned quite a bit that you're able to get book 2 and 3 out a lot quicker?
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely scheduling issues that have occurred in the past, and making sure that I write every day, and then just working in terms of planning out how long it's gonna take me to draft, and then how long it's gonna take me to revise. Um, I basically took the revision time of the last novel. I trimmed it down a little bit, but by using that, I kind of planned out this year, and my goal is 2 more books this year, and so that's the goal.
Nice. Um, so a little bit off of your book, but as an author, just about every author I talk to likes to read. What are some of your favorite books that you've read growing up or as an adult before you wrote your book?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many, right? Really like pretty much all of Neil Stephenson's stuff. Uh,
Okay, yeah.
he definitely had an issue with ending books at the beginning of his career. Like it was one of those things where he just was like, "Okay, I'm done," and walking away. And you were like, "Whoa, whoa, where's the tie up?"
Well,
Um,
he's not the only one with that problem.
yeah, exactly. I also liked William Gibson, S.M. Sterling.
Okay.
They're basically almost all of their like Mona Lisa Overdrive and those kind of books, little cyberpunkish books. David Weber and his Honor Harrington
Yeah.
series.
Yeah. You're the second military sci-fi that's mentioned that series.
It is. It's rough to start. It's one of those things where nowadays, um, I don't know, modern sensibilities. Like I think the first book came out in like '89 or something like that.
Mhm.
So I usually suggest it, and uh, probably only half the people that I suggest it to actually get up and get going through it. One that usually has a uh, higher read through is Jim Butcher and his
Yeah.
Dresden series. You just keep going on those.
Right.
Who else?
Well, have you let me ask if you've ever heard of or read Ian Douglas, Star Carrier?
Yes, I have Ian Douglas, and I believe that's a pen name of his.
It is. I know him actually. That's
Oh,
his
that's
pen
cool.
name. Yeah,
Uh,
I just got brag a little there, I guess.
yeah, no, that's awesome. My brag is I vaguely have had some chats with Michael Stackpole, who
Oh wow!
who does did a bunch of BattleTech stuff, which is big stompy robots, which is what I like.
Right, right. Well,
Um,
so did Ian Douglas. He did it as David Keith or something like that.
William H. Keith
Well,
Jr.
that's his real name.
Yeah.
He wrote some BattleTech too back in
Yep.
the day.
Yep. He wrote the Grayson series, which is also a really good
Yep.
series.
And
Uh,
didn't Michael Stackpole do Rogue Squadron stuff with Star
he did.
Wars?
He
Yeah.
did do a bunch of Star Wars stuff. Yeah. So like both of them. Um, and then David Drake, like him. In fact, really good old school alternate history is the Belisarius series with Eric Flint and David Drake, and I think SM Sterling. I'm not sure. He might have been in there or not. But that's a really good series that I like. Just as alternate history follows a Belisarius, who was one of the great generals back in Rome. Uh,
So, with a family and with writing, you got two books coming out this year. Do you find much time to read nowadays?
yeah, so it's on my phone.
Oh,
That's where I get it. So I'll read when I'm waiting in line at the grocery store, or waiting to pick up a kid, or a kids' child practices and whatnot. And then I try and read a paper book before I go to bed. So I usually shut down all the electronics and just crack open a book. I to to show you how busy my schedule is. I'm still reading Jim Butcher's latest book. Uh,
well, you're ahead of me. I'm so far behind in all the books I want to read, but I'll be fair. We've got six kids between the two of us, and
Jeez,
because of one thing and another, and COVID and all that, all six are at home right now.
yeah, that's
So,
brutal.
and only one of them drives. So,
Yep, I know that feeling. I took a week off for Christmas. And basically usually my kids go to my in-laws, and so with the week off I was like, well, I'll watch my own kids this time. And it was busy as heck. It was not a vacation in any way, shape, or form, so I feel your pain.
glad to be back at work, huh?
Yep.
So, also, along with books, do you have any favorite bookstores that you like to go to where you're at?
Yeah, so all of the ones that are local around me have all closed down.
Oh,
I used to hit Barnes and Noble all the time. I would just wander those shelves forever. There is a really great one down in San Diego called Mysterious Galaxy. And I like going down there because they usually have author signings, and the staff is really awesome. In fact, I don't get down there very often, and I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, Jim Butcher had a signing, and I couldn't make it, but my buddy could, so he drove down there and got got me a signed copy, and he got a signed copy. And then the following year, Jim Butcher came out with his next book, and I went down there, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, this is the Return the Favor," and so that's what Jim signed in there, was just, "Here you go, returning the favor," and
nice.
so that was pretty cool. But I really like Mysterious Galaxy. They're good people.
I used to live in Escondido,
Oh, okay,
so I kind of know the area, but I don't recall that bookstore.
they're off the 805, I want to say.
Okay,
So they're south of Escondido.
got it. Right. Okay. All right. Well, before we break and go into the second half for the author talk, any last words about your book, or tell us, I guess, again, the name of the book and where we can find it, your website.
Yeah, sure. So the name of the book is Raising Aces by Chad Boyer. It's over on Amazon exclusively right now. And my website is just chadboyer.me. So ChadBoyer.me.
Okay. Great. Well, Chad, I appreciate talking to you today and taking the time to talk about your book.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening to Discovered Wordsmiths. Come back next week and listen to another author discuss the road they've traveled, and maybe, sometime in the near future, it might be you.